Hello and welcome to Good or Bad, and a happy Halloween to everyone, except for you. You don't deserve it. You know what you did. So, I finally ran out of Michael Myers movies to do, which sadly means I can't put it off any longer. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This movie came out in 1982. They had just wrapped up Halloween 2, ending Michael's reign of terror in a hospital inferno. And at this point they were happy to move on from Michael Myers and do something new with Halloween. To which they came up with the idea of making Halloween an anthology series. And each new sequel in this anthology series would be its own unique film with its own story and characters. Personally, I didn't think it was a bad idea. What went wrong, though, was the first one was Season of the Witch, which is not a good thing. So what's it about then? Tom Atkins here plays Dr. Daniel Chalice, who takes it upon himself to solve the mysterious death of one of his patients. At the start of the movie, local shopkeeper Harry is on the run from men in suits. He escapes but collapses, clutching a pumpkin mask. I cannot tell you how many stories I've got about clutching a pumpkin mask. Really? I can't tell you. You'll never make me talk. He is then admitted to hospital under the care of Dr. Daniel. But his medical troubles take a turn for the worst when he gets killed to death. Wow, you stick it in and just wipe it on the curtains? That's real classy. Dr. Dan pursues the assailant, but watches in shock and horror as he sets himself ablaze. Which means Dr. Dan is paid a visit by a firefighter who seems to be wearing a children's toy hat. Just look at that thing! The big F is even wobbling about. And as funny as this is, I do have to question the fact that this is a movie about Halloween masks that admittedly look great, but you couldn't have paid a little bit more for a decent looking firefighter's hard hat? The good doctor then teams up with grieving daughter Ellie Grimbridge, played by Stacey Nelkin. They decide that uncovering the mystery surrounding her father's murder is down to them to solve. Because it is. So, a bit of sleuthing is in order. He came into the hospital, clutching a Halloween mask, shouting, "They will kill us all!" Then soon after he was dead. Sounds like a coincidence if you ask me. Sherlock and Watson then retrace Harry's footsteps using his meticulously kept shopkeeper's records. They discover that before he came back all frantic, he had business in Santa Mira, the very same Santa Mira that is home to the toy company Silver Shamrock, which is where all the Halloween masks were made, including the one that Harry died holding. The game is afoot. There's no time to lose. If you can lose time, can you win time? Maybe that's like when you get out of work early. They soon arrive at Santa Mira and meet a rather nice motel owner.
It's cozy, it's quiet, and the price is right.
Do you reckon he says that every time he opens the door? You know, like one of those annoying NPCs that keep saying the same line of dialogue over and over again until you want to shoot them in the face with a Death Star firing dart gun of destruction. Then they bump into another shopkeeper. Shopkeepers galore in this film, isn't it? Maybe that's how it started, you know. Maybe there was a shopkeepers convention and the filmmakers just went, shall we make an horror film around them all? To be fair though, I've heard this whole town revolves around the Silver Shamrock factory, and apparently pretty much any guests staying at this motel are people who are picking up Halloween mask orders. But if that's the case, it does beg the question, how on earth does this motel stay in business the rest of the year? This film deserves a prequel to explore that very question. So the other shopkeeper, she has one of their Halloween masks, but the Silver Shamrock branding has fallen off. She inspects it closely and prods it with a pokey thing, so it laser beams her in the face.
You may fire when ready.
I don't know about you, but I, for one, am getting a little bit suspicious of this Silver Shamrock company. I'm like 40% sure they're up to something. And it is time. We finally meet the CEO of Silver Shamrock.
Mr. Cochran, good to see you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Rafferty. It's all over, my friends. Just a small accident. The lady's going to get the very best possible treatment, I promise you that.
Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory. We've the most marvelous facility there for emergency treatment.
And the big boss man is having a bit of a chinwag with his cronies, and they overhear them saying that that woman's death was caused by a misfire. And that only adds another corn of suspicion to the ever-growing field of thinking they're up to something. Yeah, they wind up getting invited on a tour of the factory to see how the magic is done. You know, we've got a big bad boss CEO guy person doing something mysteriously evil, and a man with his female companion sleuthing around to uncover this diabolical scheme and stop him. It's like a really bad Bond movie, but with a really catchy Halloween melody.
It's 4 days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. It's 4 days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. It's 4 days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. It's 4 days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Well, that's now stuck in my head. They decide to call the police when they discover her father's car being hidden in the factory. Dr. Dan then gets attacked by men in suits. This film has android assassins? I mean, of course it does. Why wouldn't it have android assassins? It is now the 31st of October, Halloween. And now that the good guy has been captured by the bad guy, it is of course time for the bad guy to reveal his evil plan in detail with a live demonstration of what he is about to do to the rest of the world. Did I mention that this feels like a Bond film? So, we have this family that was also on that tour earlier, but they are put into a room and the TV starts playing this Silver Shamrock Halloween melody, and the kid puts on his Halloween mask and then grabs a kitchen knife and butchers his... No, that's a better Halloween film, that doesn't happen. What does happen though is while the kid is wearing the Halloween mask and the TV is playing, his head turns into mulch and snakes and spiders come slithering and crawling out of him and kill his parents. So I have just 2 questions. How and why? Well, let's start with the how. Okay, so I'm not going to lie to you, it is a bit technical, so try to keep up. You got your bog standard Halloween mask, right? Nothing dangerous there, we've all seen them, we've probably all worn them at one point or another. But then, you had a microchip. And it's still not dangerous because it's just a microchip. But then, you had the secret ingredient.
Ancient sacrificial circle. Stonehenge.
What? Stonehenge? The British historic landmark. That's Stonehenge.
We had a time getting it here. You wouldn't believe how we did it.
Wait, so they stole some Stonehenge and we don't even get to see them do it? Why? That would have been cool.
It has a power in it. A force. Even a particle. Devastating.
I mean, yes, this does sound mad, but I think we have to stop and remember the ancient Celtic writings, which prophesied that latex plus microchip plus bit of Stonehenge plus catchy Halloween melody with flashing pumpkin imagery equals head mulch and snake and spider summoning. Well, now that that's cleared up, let's talk about why. Why do any of this at all?
Why, Cochran? Why? Do I need a reason?
Well, that's that answered, and can I say it is nice and refreshing to see such an evil plan purely have the motivations of just wanting to kill people because they're a bad person. It's really
in keeping with the theme of the Halloween series, isn't it? Which is why that's not the case, and he does go on to explain a different reason.
Mr. Cupfer was right, you know. I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children.
He tells Dr. Dan that he doesn't like what Halloween has become. Yeah, I can relate to that one. Been in that position before.
Halloween, the festival of Samhain. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red with the blood of animals and children. Sacrifices are part of our world. Our craft. Witchcraft. To us, it was a way of controlling our environment. It's not so different now. It's time again. In the end, we don't decide these things, you know. The planets do. They're in alignment.
So that's why he's doing it. Personally, I think he should have stopped with "Do I Need a Reason?" But here we are. Before I get to the grand finale, I would just like to say that as bad as this movie is, and it is bad, I do truly respect its continued commitment to not being grounded in logic whatsoever. So now that he has revealed his evil plan in detail, he needs to kill him. So instead of putting a bullet in his head, he ties him up and puts a mask on him, and leaves him in a room on his own, ready to be killed at 9 PM when the TV plays the movie of death all across America. Have I mentioned that this feels like some sort of Bond parody? I mean, even when he breaks free, he flings the mask over the CCTV camera the exact same way that James Bond throws his hat onto the coat stand whenever he walks into Moneypenny's office. At any rate, now that he has escaped, he frees Ellie, dodges some androids, and kills the bad guys by showering them with the power of Stonehenge. Not a sentence I expected to be saying today. I love that he looks up and claps before he is CGI'd to death. The bad guy may be dead, but they still need to stop the broadcast. We better get a bit of a wriggle on. But oh no! It turns out that Ellie has been replaced with an android replicant. Which does make me wonder why the android did nothing to stop him from killing them all. This movie is batcrap insane, who cares? He fights her and destroys her. Then he calls the TV broadcasting companies and begs them to stop the broadcast. 2 of them listened, but the third doesn't listen.
Take off the third channel. The third channel. It's still running. Stop it, please. For God's sake, please stop it. There's no more time. You've got to... Please, stop it. Stop it now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
So that was Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Overall, a bad movie. It could have easily have been a fun bad movie, but it's just a bit too boring to achieve that, in my opinion. I think it takes itself too seriously, which doesn't contrast well against its ludicrous plot. But the plus sides, the soundtrack was good, the masks looked great, and that Silver Shamrock melody, that just sticks in your head like crazy. But they are the only things that this film has going for it. As I said earlier, I did like the idea of Halloween being an anthology series, and especially like the fact that the original Halloween movie was a movie in this movie. I said movie too much there, didn't I? Overall, Halloween 3 is just a mix of craziness, uninteresting characters, and dull death scenes. Also, Alien did androids better. But, being the eternal optimist that I am, I will end on a positive note. The acting was surprisingly decent, which is especially good considering they had to convincingly act out such an insane story. You've been watching Good or Bad, and I will see you next time.